All right, this is Prepping with Sarge. We are back out at the Ashley River. Water's pretty high today. I'll give you a good look here in just a sec. I'm just going to give it a little look around here. Hope you all are having a good lunch, and we're going to give people a chance to get in here. See if we got any gators out here today. One of these days, I'm going to get you a nice big gator on camera. I know they're out here. So while we're waiting to see if anybody wants to jump in here, I'll give you a little view here where I'm at. Some of y'all have been out here with me before. Right? That connects to the Ashley River behind. Nice little area where I get to come and chill out on lunchtime. I'm very blessed to have this here. But let's cool little butterfly. Hey Celine, how you doing? How's the weather up there? So this is while we're waiting for people to jump in. Hey Silver Scorpion. While we're waiting for people to jump in, this is Prepping with Sarge. We do videos about wilderness survival, preparedness, financial preparedness, gardening, food self-sufficiency, all that happy fun stuff. And Sarge is not a military rank or a police rank for me. It is just a nickname. Y'all see any gators here? I don't see any gators today. Nice and sunny. That is awesome to hear. This is a good time of year to be where you're at. And we've got blessed here. Hey, Digital Prepper. We got blessed here. We actually got a nice little cool spell, which is it's kind of weird this time of year. This time last year, it was in the high 90s already. But we finally got some good rain here, which my garden desperately needed. And and then it cooled down, and we've been lucky. It's stayed cool, and I think it's supposed to stay cool till Sunday, and then it's going to be back up into the 90s. Hey, Ann, how's things looking is that Minnesota? How's things looking there? Yeah, we do have good weather here today, and a little bit of a current in the water behind me. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera. But we're just going to chill out here a little bit. I'm going to take you guys on a walk. I was going to talk a little bit today. I have a topic prepared. I'm actually I had told you in a couple live streams past that I was going to talk about, some of my, hey Sarge, some of my mental health experience and how it relates to preparedness and kind of bring some of my expertise in that. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a licensed therapist. I've worked with all different populations throughout my career, going almost 30 years now. Worked with people, mostly adults, but I have worked with teens and kids too. Worked with people with severe and persistent mental illness. Double Sarges today. Yes. Yeah, Sarge usually jumps in on my live stream here. I love working with the autism spectrum disorder clients. I have some seniors that I work with. I've got a lot of people who are have done prison time, things like that are trying to, just do something different with their lives. So I've got a pretty diverse population. But I'm going to talk about a few concepts today that I adapted in my personal life from 2 for 1. I love it. In my personal life to manage my own mental wellness. So I've got 4, and I took some notes, so you might see me refer to my notes because I wanted to make sure I had my thoughts organized. It actually really does, yeah. I used to be really susceptible to anger. I don't know if I would say it was an anger management problem. Some people might have said that, but I definitely was susceptible to anger, and usually about stuff. This kind of stuff that would really get me angry is like people doing stuff that selfish stuff. Okay, so I'm going to give you a really light example. Oh, here's the butterfly. See if I can get him. Maybe he'll come on camera. He's actually landed on my clothes, probably because of the green shirt. I don't know if I'll be able to get him. I think he's on my back, but we'll just let him chill out there a little bit. He can hitch a ride. Selfish stuff, right? So I'm talking about I'm going to give you an example that's real kind of not really offensive to anybody. Littering is a trigger for me. Like people who litter, obviously it's not the worst thing a person can do, right? Like there's, murdering and hurting children, things like that, you know, that ranks up there. But littering in the grand scheme of things compared to that is not bad, but it is a huge trigger for me when I see people litter, because the reason it's such a trigger for me is like, it's the epitome of like, screw you world, I don't care about anybody but myself. And it's like the easiest thing to carry out your trash, right? So there's like almost no excuse for it. You know, there's no excuse for murder either, right? But it's just such an easy thing that, yeah, injustices, absolutely, yeah. And I think a lot of people are feeling that these days. But like, litter is, I'm using that today because that's one of the things that really triggers me, and I'm gonna tie it in here. Hey Stamos, how you doing? With a real life example, and you know how you could handle it in a bad way or a good way. But I used to get really screwed up in my head about this stuff. Hey Deborah, triggers me too, especially when thrown from a car window. Yes, and that's the story that I'm going to tell later on. It's going to tie into all of this. If you're able to, I know a lot of people are on their lunch break right now. If you're able to stay with me to the end, this is going to kind of jump around a little bit, but I'm going to wrap it up in a bow at the end. But so I'm going to talk about 4 concepts today. And if you see me looking down, I'm referring to my notes. 3 of these come from the world of psychology, from the world of mental health. And in the end, I'm going to tie it all together as a prepper, how you can use this to be to manage the fatality of the world crises, right? So we got a lot of crap going on in the world right now. We got obviously digital prepper. You know, we got people who can hack our infrastructure and really mess up our lives here in the United States. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Sarge. I'm not saying that I almost did that, but I almost did that. So yeah, I used to have quite the temper. So we have a lot of things going on in the world. We got a lot of you know, hackers can screw up our infrastructure. They can basically shut off our electricity. They can shut off our power, and that's without even firing a single shot in that direction, right? So this is the new war. The new Cold War is going to be a digital war, right? And cybersecurity is like going to be one of those fields that if I was going into college right now, this would be something I'd be thinking about, because cybersecurity is absolutely going to be our future. We have food crisis about to develop, right? So like food prices are through the roof, and I don't know about you all, but my paycheck isn't going up, right? Like food prices are now up over 7% in inflation for the year, and you know, is your boss going to give you a 7% raise? Probably not, right? And if you do, hey, I'm happy for you. That's awesome. But most people aren't going to get that. So you have to, you know, think about this from a financial perspective. Like, okay, what am I going to do to increase my financial security? We've got the crisis going on right now in the Middle East, which is really bubbling up into something that is scary for everybody around that area. We've got, we're in the beginning of hurricane season, right? And the last couple of years, especially for the Gulf, was really bad for hurricanes and storms. And right now they're actually dealing with flooding again, because there's been storms that are just kind of over Louisiana and just hovering there. So we've got that going on, and we've got we got our hands full, right? There's a lot of crises going on, and you can look at all this stuff, and it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to say it's hopeless, right? Or to get mad at people who do something that contributes to the problems. Hey, Alabama Farm Life, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. So in psychology, there's a couple concepts that we talk about. The first one I'm going to talk about is the wise mind, right? So this comes from dialectical behavioral therapy. If you've ever been in therapy before, or you've ever studied psychology in college or whatever, dialectical behavioral, to be fully protected. Yeah, we're way behind in our digital protection. We are way behind the curve. I have faith that our nation will step up and be able to defend our infrastructure, but right now we're very vulnerable. So wise mind is when you think about a human's reactivity, we have our emotional mind and our rational mind. Okay, so if I see, let's say Sarge was driving home from work, and he sees the person in front of him throw a bag of McDonald's trash out their car window onto somebody's lawn, that's a trigger for me. Like, this person has literally no care about anybody in the world but themselves, right? Um, And so my emotionally reactive mind might say, I'm going to chase this SOB down. I'm going to blare on my horn and I'm going to grab some trash and stuff it in his face, right? And there's a part of me that wants to do that. Now, the rational mind says, there's nothing you can do about it, Sarge. You can report his license and maybe they'll send him a letter or whatever. There are some states have programs like that where you can report a person's license plate and they'll get a letter in the mail that says, naughty, naughty, don't do that again. And the wise mind takes both of those sides, right? So if you want to think about it in archetypes, right, you have, your yin and your yang on your shoulders, your devil, your angel, your two wolves in Native American culture. Like there's all kinds of different archetypes for this. In dialectical behavioral therapy, we're going to call it our emotional mind, our rational mind. Not to say that either one is right or wrong, but the wise mind takes both of those and makes a smart decision. Okay, that's concept one. Remember that. We're coming back to that. Concept two is locus of control. So if you think back to if you ever took a psychology class, locus of control is when something happens, do you blame yourself or do you blame everybody else? Okay, the world sucks. I'm being dramatic here, right? The world sucks. Nobody gives a damn anymore. Sorry, I don't know if YouTube is going to be on me about that. I think they're okay with the D word. Nobody gives a damn, and you can just get real frustrated and feel like there's nothing you can do to improve your personal situation, right? And we're an internal locus of control is the exact opposite, and they say, everything in my life I have some control over it, right? Like I can change my outcomes to some extent at least, right? And the truth is somewhere in between, right? Like there are circumstances in your life that are outside your control. Certainly, if you were born into a really bad situation, cards are stacked against you. Let's say you were born in a country where there's a lot of human trafficking going on, and you could be, from a very young age, put into sexual slavery, something like that. Like that's a bad roll of the dice. Whereas if you're born in the United States, you're immediately getting a better chance in life, right? Even if you're born into a bad situation in the United States, you're still better off than the person that was in that other situation, right? So that's the external locus of control. The internal locus of control says, what can I do about this personally? What can I do to affect my outcomes? That's concept two. Any questions so far? All right, next concept is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance comes from is this from? Yeah, I think it's from dialectical behavioral therapy again. Gosh, let me think about that. Yeah. Anyways, radical acceptance is basically when you say this in a faith-based perspective might be like your serenity prayer. There are things that are outside of my control. Okay. So radical acceptance is that I can't do much to change situation A. Right. I can change my attitude about situation A. I can change my beliefs. I can change my behaviors. I can avoid situation A to some extent, but I can't change this situation A. Exactly, Sarge. Exactly. You see where we're going with all this. All right. Last concept isn't really exclusive to psychology. Yep. Yeah. And that's part of it too. That's your internal locus of control. That's the part where you say, what's within my ability here? Hey, Wayne, it's good to see you. Guys, if you're enjoying this content so far, please give me a thumbs up. Hey, if you hate me, give me a thumbs down in the comments, put he hate me. I appreciate you watching. The watch time helps me out, and I appreciate the engagement. And I don't ever expect everybody to agree with me. I can be a very opinionated person, but I definitely appreciate when people are willing to hear me out and engage. All right, so the last concept here, this is not exclusive to psychology. This is your circle of control. So this expands out, right? So your circle of control, I would totally be just, hey, Trident stacking, I would totally be distracted by a puppy. My ADD would be like, okay, guys, live stream's over. All right, so circle of control, right? So your circle of control, coaching certificates. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to hear more about that. The circle of control. So your circle of control starts with you, right? Like, so I can control my attitude. You can learn to, even if you feel like I can't. I can control my thoughts. You can learn to, even if you think you can't. And that's a large part of what I do in my primary job as a therapist is teach people how to get control of their thoughts, because that really does affect a lot of the other stuff. And you can control your behaviors, right? So if I get, let's go back to the incident of the person throwing the McDonald's trash out on the lawn, right? So the first thing I can control there is my thoughts. The second thing, create two markets, the digital one and the black market. Yeah, that's coming, I think, too. I wouldn't argue with that. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was the coolest looking bird. I don't know birds as well as I do plants, guys. What's the blackbird with the red wings? Is it red-winged blackbird? Is that what it's called? One just flew by me. Here's my ADD. So outside of your circle of control, you have some control over your family and your immediate environment. You have some control over that. Then it starts to, your ability to control things starts to diminish pretty quickly. So the next is your circle of influence, right? So most of the people on here that I see, you are all content creators, right? So you have a circle of influence outside of your household and outside your friends and outside your family. You actually have some influence. That's part of why we're sometimes called influencers. You have an audience that is interested in you. Sometimes they agree with you, sometimes they disagree with you, but you do have some influence there. It's not a ton, but you have some, right? So like if I do a product review for a flashlight and I say, hey guys, when the guy jumps into the van, when the guy shows you a puppy, maybe. So if I say, hey guys, here's a flashlight that I've tried 15 flashlights and I really like this one, and you guys trust my flashlight reviews, some of you will go out and buy that flashlight, right? That's why, we have some influence on things like that. We also might have some influence on how a person, oh yeah, I got it bad, Sarge. We all have some influence on how a person may, like I can influence the techniques a person uses in the garden to some extent if they trust my expertise, right? And Digital Prepper can influence to some extent how much you will manage your cybersecurity, right? If you listen to him. So we do have some of that. Now, beyond the circle of influence, you have your circle of concern. And that is as big as you want it to be, right? So if you're worried about what's happening with Israel and Palestine, that could be your circle of concern. If you're only worried about what's happening at your gas pump, maybe that's your circle of concern. Maybe that's just in your local, in your neighborhood. But you have the least amount of influence and control on your circle of concern, right? Like the amount that you can do, you can manage, that really has diminished now at that point. So there's two types of energy that we've talked about 4 concepts so far, right? We talked about the wise mind, the locus of control, the radical acceptance, and the circle of control. Going back to the circle of control piece here, there's 2 types of energy that I can put into that. The first one is reactive energy, right? So I see something, it ticks me off, or maybe I get overjoyed with it, and and how I behave outwardly is going to have an effect on the inner circles, right? The part that I can influence. I hope you guys are following. I know I'm getting a little bit abstract here, and it'd be better if I had a whiteboard to work with, but wouldn't look as nice as this. So you're reactive, right? So if I see something that, let's say that the littering thing, we'll go back to that because it's safe to talk about that one. I see the person throw their McDonald's trash out onto the lawn, and my reactive energy may be immediately to blast my horn at this guy, to start chasing up on his tail, rolling down my window and giving him the bird sign. There's all kinds of like negative reactive energy I can do to that. I could take that, I could internalize that, right, too. I could be like, oh, I'm so ticked off. Why does this world suck so much? Why are there so many rotten people out there, right? So I can internalize that. Guess what that does? That just destroys my body, takes my mental energy away. My cortisol goes through the roof, make myself have health problems down the line. Like that's really not. Now, there's a time and place where maybe you have to get reactive. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but just kind of throwing this out there for food for thought. Now there's also proactive energy. This is the second type of energy that you can throw at a situation, right? So let's take that McDonald's trash situation again, and I can look at it and I could say, that is really obnoxious that person did that. It really makes me mad. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to be proactive about this? Well, I could go on my lunch break and maybe I'm going to walk around my trails and I'm going to pick up trash. Okay. I can't really, let's say that I chase this person down, right? Let's follow this line of thought through. And this is what I do a lot of times with my patients. Like, let's follow this line of thought through. So you were ticked off of this person. They did something that I would agree. Dash cam and post on. Yeah, you could do that too if you got dash cams, which are awesome. I could chase this person down and, hey Billy, it's good to see you. And I could give them a punch in the mouth, right? And I could shove some trash in their car. Okay, let's say I did that. Let's just kind of follow that train of thought through. What happens? Well, does he really learn his lesson? Right? Do you think he's really going to think about it again and not do that again? Probably not. Does it make me feel better? It might in the moment, right? Like, we have that expression, some people deserve to get punched in the mouth. So I might feel better. I might end up getting arrested. And then my family doesn't have me for at least that night, right? It could escalate, as Sherry says. What if this person pulls out a knife? What if this person pulls out a pew, pew, pew? Right? There's a lot of ways that could go wrong. And then my family, let's say that I don't make it home, my family's left questioning. I'm doing pretty good. It's always good to see you, Billy. Then my family's left questioning, why the hell did he lose his life over this, right? They probably wouldn't even know that I was chasing them down because I was triggered because somebody threw trash out the window. That's that reactive energy leading you to a bad outcome. So the proactive energy, most of the time, is going to give, thinking things through, stopping, slowing it down and saying, what can I do about this? I'm probably nothing I can do is probably going to change this person's behaviors, but I can go out and clean up the world a little bit. I can go on and do a live stream about littering and maybe somebody will think about it. Maybe they won't, but I'll feel a little bit better that I did it. And the theory is reactive energy doesn't increase your influence. Okay. You may get an audience. Because there's something in our brains where we love drama. We love to see people pissed off. There's like a little dopamine fix that we get off of that. It's exciting. It's fun when somebody's standing around and they're just like ranting and raving. But how many of those people are coming over to your side, really? So it doesn't really, that's the theory is, and it's just a theory, is that it doesn't really increase your influence, your circle of influence. Proactive energy may increase your influence, right? So if I stop my car and pick up that McDonald's trash, maybe somebody else sees that. No, I'm not saying that at all, Sarge. No, don't do that. Y'all are killing me. Yeah, absolutely. I agree, preparedness guy. When it comes to self-defense, like if somebody chases me down and drags me out of my car, I'm going down with a fight. I promise you that. I absolutely support everybody's right to defend. And if I chase this person down, that would have been their perspective. Is like, you know what, this weird bald guy with the glasses is looking to cause trouble for me. I'm gonna give him a fight. Positive mental attitude. Family man prepper, it's good to see you. I love what you're doing in the garden. So you take all these four concepts that we talked about: the emotional mind, the wise mind, your locus of control, radical acceptance, and your circle of control. And when you can learn to take successful slave, good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. When you learn to incorporate that into your thought process, that's when you start to really make the wise mind decisions. And in theory, okay, and people are welcome to disagree with me, in theory, you're increasing your influence, right? So if I stopped, instead of chasing this person down, if I stopped and I picked up trash, maybe somebody else is driving along and they're like, that guy just stopped his car to pick up trash. You know what? Maybe next time I'm walking around the side of the road, I'll pick up a piece of trash. Maybe I'm gonna teach my kid about that, right? That's the theory. If nothing else, right? So like, let's say that theory is wrong. and it's just a bunch of, Sarge is a tree hugging BS artist. Okay. Is my life genuinely happier if I'm not filled with raging cortisol all the time? Yes. Am I going to probably have less health issues? Yes. That's that proactive thinking, right? So when you look at any kind of ethical decision-making matrix, you have to weigh the pros and cons of all of this, right? So I think that's the concept that I was trying to get out there. I hope I explained it well. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the comments after this live goes up. And I'm happy to hear other people's thoughts on this. Like I said, I welcome other people's to disagree with me. If you've enjoyed this, appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up. You guys are an awesome group of people. Everybody on here is a good content creator. Please check out each other's channels. Yeah, I'm not talking about being passive. That's right, Deborah. Yeah, you don't need to be walked over. And I have to do a lot of that work with, I'll talk about that for a minute here. Yeah. You don't want to be walked on by people. I have to do a lot of that kind of therapy too, because that's the other extreme, right? You have to be able to stand up for yourself. You have to be verbally or unfortunately, sometimes maybe even physically. But for the most part, a lot of stuff can be handled better by just stopping, slowing down, thinking through what's the best way for me to approach this. But yeah, you got to stick up for yourself. There are people in the world who will. Thank you, Digital Prepper. Turn the other cheek. Yeah, that's kind of the concept sometimes. Yep. But also, being able to stand up for yourself if it does come to that. I agree with that too. You have to develop some assertiveness skills, right? Because that actually, if you don't stand up for yourself, you don't have some assertiveness skills, you can develop like this inner rage that eventually, you ever know that person learning the balance between being walked on and two guys can take a lifetime. That's true. That's true. Y'all ever know that person? I've known many who like you never see them get mad, and then one day they get mad. What happens? What happens to that person that never sticks up for themselves, that never is assertive with other people, and they just keep, letting everybody, they pop, they snap. Yep. They turn into the Hulk. Yeah. And when that person snaps, it's scary. Like, because you won't see it coming. And they're probably going to snap not on the person that's been giving them all the hell. They might, sometimes you see that with bullying and stuff like that when somebody finally fights back. But a lot of times they'll snap on somebody else for something small, like the wrong thing. And a lot of times it's somebody that they love because it's safer to do that. Right. So, not necessarily that you have to pop off once in a while to let that energy out, but you do have to stick up for yourself. And when you do learn to do that in assertive ways, doesn't have to be violent, but assertive, you can, you won't feel that buildup and it won't come to that. How about that? You see that on the department about 4 months in. Can you explain that a little more, Wayne? So before I wrap up, I am going to have to get back to work here in a minute. I appreciate everybody. If you want to plug anything on your channels, you got any videos coming out this week, now's a good time to do so. And like I said, go ahead and check out each other's channels, please. Really good content creators in this group. And everybody here has some good knowledge to share and has good experiences, right? Like, there are people in this group, I'm not going to call anybody out, who've been overseas and done combat. There are people here who have digital expertise. There's people in here who are fantastic gardeners and homesteaders. I appreciate you, Deborah. And check out Deborah's channel, guys. She does some really cool artwork. And so talking about like popping off and things like that, that is a great way to chill out, is if you like to draw. She does these things called, hey, Bend and Stretch with Sue. She does these things called Zentangles, right? So if you probably have done them. I know I did them when I was in school because of my ADD. It was one of the ways that I would cope with all the noise in the classroom. You're kind of doodling, but while you're doodling, you're creating a symbol or a mandala that kind of expands out of the doodle, and it's very, very relaxing. Everyone gets so focused on the mission that they allow everyone else to walk all over them, combined with being away from home. Yeah. See, I appreciate you sharing that, Wayne, because I don't have any experience like that, and I have family members who have. In fact, my nephew just got back from overseas, and I'm going to be getting to see him in a few more weeks here. So I'm going to kind of check in with him on how he's doing mentally. I did not know, Sherry. I didn't do medication. I'm still not doing medication. I've went my whole life without doing any ADD medication. And thank you, Sarge. Maybe I'll talk about that in the future, the pros and cons of that, because believe me, there are days when I wish that I was on medication. And there are times when I wish that I had been on medication when I was in school. There's pros and cons to that, but I've never been on any ADD type medications. And yeah, I'll talk about it in a future stream. All right, guys, I do have to get back to work. I appreciate everybody. I hope you all have a great lunchtime. If some of you are on the West Coast, you're probably getting your breakfast right now. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.